Skirk and escoffier are currently having their rerun banners, and in this video, I'm going to explain 5 reasons why Skirk is still 100% worth it even like 9 months after release and after all the not cry power creep and HP inflation. Alright, starting with reason number 1. Very good raw damage numbers slash DPS. At KQMS, Skirk in her best team with escoffier, Farina, and Shenhe, with her best non-Vok cancel combo, she does 135k DPS at KQMS C0R0. This is really big and easily top 5 DPS in the game level. It is much better than all of the Natlan carries barring Mawika, and way above the Fontanian ones, and comfortably is higher than say Benefa wheelchair levels of damage. And I get it, all of y'all are absolute experts on sheets and sims and theory crafting and numbers now, and might say that Skirk is substantially behind the not-cry cast like Flynn's, Nefer, and Zabai with their premium support and column Bina. Which on paper, yes, she is worse than them, but practically she's actually not that far behind. I'll explain why in later points. With a regular DPS, you should comfortably, in a give or take 60 seconds, clear a neutral non-shilled Abyss half with decent gameplay. And neutral stygian HP checks, if available at fearless difficulty, will be cleared with around 10 seconds remaining, generally speaking from my experience. But in actuality, where it matters, her DPS number is higher than what it sheets in Microsoft Excel. And one of the reasons is, Skirk has the ability to front-load damage and can greatly increase her DPS through combos alone, and therefore can brute force a lot of bosses in Stygian Onslaught so you don't have to pull for the shilled unit. This is the biggest plus point of using Skirk. Almost every Stygian Onslaught, she has been able to clear at least 1 or 2 of the bosses in D5 fearless difficulty as C0 without being shilled at all for it. One big reason for this is her ability to sort of charge up her burst with hold E, to then later on unleash it when the boss is in a slow resistance state along with her normal attack combo to do a lot of damage in a very short amount of time. This is so useful for many bosses, like for example the crab boss who has a short down state. Skirk was perfect for that, or for finishing off slash last rotations in Stygian. For the shock trooper Fatui boss to get through the initial shield without even using Electro, and with no Night Soul on the team, because of her ability to front load, she could get through the Stygian Tenebrous Papilla, if I remember correctly, without even needing Chaska or Mawika, etc. Aside from this, she has great shield breaking for Pyro, Electro, and Hydro shields because her teams apply so much Cryo and Hydro, and those are the 3 most common that appear in Abyss, like the Abyss Lectors and Heralds and many other smaller mobs. And in Stygian 2, remember the Kokijo turtle? The crab, and mainly the Inquitus Baptist, could be cleared because of this. This makes her so good at brute forcing enemies and saves you many primogems. If you wanted to clear the crab but didn't pull for Novelette or were too trash at Mulani, Skirk provided an easy way to clear. If you wanted to clear the Baptist but didn't want to force wasting primogems on Lauma slash Nefer, you could simply use Skirk. Now, pair all this with our Vok cancel combos, which are pretty hard to pull off if you're not on PC, but definitely possible and doable consistently. They're like a 15% damage increase if you can do the hard combo, and that is a lot. She practically does a lot more damage in game, and is only like 10k DPS behind Flint and Nefer, which is a small enough difference. Next, and there are more Stygian bosses she can clear. Why? I'll talk about it next up. Reason number 3. Skirk's team can freeze enemies and other smaller pros. This is such a big quality of life, I had to include it as a separate reason in of itself. And yeah, I know in Stygian a lot of bosses are well unfreezable, but actually quite a lot are. And those bosses are so annoying when you play without freeze or without the show mechanic. For example, a Lightkeeper boss. How do you clear that without a Flint or Nefer? Skirk can literally freeze the dude in place and you can blindly follow your rotation slash combo, which feels so smooth and repeatable. The Mulani turtle too could be frozen straight up, and that was a very annoying boss, trust me. The shock trooper who is violent and does a lot of damage, freeze his ass bro. The little chickens of the lunar dog, just freeze and one tap with your burst. And the mushroom itself can be frozen so you don't need to dodge. This is so big for people with skill issue. The horrible Valhunt enemies in the last cycle of the Abyss were also very violent and could easily kill you. But with Skirk, because you could freeze them, you could wipe them out with much less difficulty even without a lunar DPS. It was much easier to kill those 4 Wildhunt dudes with a Skirk team than with a Moalani or Varesa team, even though their damage output on paper isn't far behind Skirk's. And even on bosses where she isn't at all intended to perform well, she does. Remember the Virus of Plunge bosses a few patches ago? She cleared that real fast. The Frost Knight Hera that once Ascendant Gleam, that too was an easy clear. And even next patch Skirk mains are eating good. Now, coming to Spiral Abyss, because you can freeze small enemies and also do a lot of damage, she can straight up skip many shield/mechanics of smaller enemies, like the plunge Weasels. Before they even get their shield up, you can perma-freeze and quickly shred them. No need to force a plunge character. Same with the Natlanese Viobs, and a few other mobs too, I'm pretty sure. Next is reason number 4, how comfortable she feels to play/ease of use. Skirk, at base, has pretty high interruption resistance, equal to the IR Xingqiu's range swords give you, and therefore doesn't need a shooter like other normal attack DPSs. But you still can run a shooter like C6 Dahlia in the 4th slot and not lose much damage. This makes her comfortable to play. She also has a escoffier in her team who is a great team-wide healer with big heals to the on-fielder, meaning you basically never have to worry about dying that way. And also, if you do her N2D combo, she has many iframes and dash cancels, so dodging becomes easier if needed. Against freezable enemies, you don't even need to dodge, of course. And lastly, this is so important, she is very easy to play, unlike Maoika or Alekino. With Maoika, if you miss one single melt in one rotation at the start, your entire Stygian run is probably cooked and you gotta reset. And it is pretty easy to miss your melts, especially with the new CDC stuff. Skirk doesn't have that aura management problem, and you can tap away without constantly checking if you're actually hitting your melts or vapes. Talking about AoE, Skirk's isn't that bad, but isn't good either. Light AoE she handles really well, her burst can kill everything in a big range if available, and her normal attack AoE is similar to Arlecchino/Nefer. But there are many clears of her doing the 41 enemies abyss, because guess what, she can freeze and immobilize the small crowd controllable mobs anyway, so the smaller AoE isn't a big issue at all. And finally, reason number 5. Meta-wise, Skirk is a character who does not rely on Columbina or Inefa or Lauma and still can do big PP damage. This is relevant now because most characters with Binafa Wheelchair and some of those units can genuinely hit Natlan levels of DPS, which is a problem because the actual not-cry DPSs also require those supports to do the best damage they can and can fall off without them. This means that characters who can perform well enough without needing those units now have a higher meta value, such as Maoika, maybe Veressa, and of course Skirk, who has her own units like Escoffier and Farina. This is great because Stygian, Onslaught, and Spiral Abyss both require 2 or 3 high DPS or shield teams without overlapping characters. And with that, we come to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll upload another one pretty soon. Good luck on your pulls and artifacts.